Hello and welcome, my friends and viewers, to this week's episode of Legendlore, where I draw and talk about monsters, characters, gods, and other things from D&D 5th edition, all while giving a small but quickly digestible history about them. Together we'll go over their origins within the game, how they're utilized in the modern edition, and how you guys can utilize them in your own games. This week we're returning with a bit more undead as we cover the Bodak, a walking void of soul-sucking abyssal horror. Often appearing as a gray humanoid with tatters for clothing, Bodaks are characterized by their dead white eyes and elongated jaw, hanging so low that it nearly drags against the floor. Bodaks were known to often keep aspects of their appearance prior to becoming undead, but were devoid of all hair and had their faces twisted to an expression of pure and utter horror and agony, often an exaggerated form of how they look when they died. D&D lore states that Bodaks often carry no personality or souls, and are born as the simple remnants of a person who is consumed or destroyed entirely by a touch of pure evil. Whatever this actually means is up to you as a dungeon master, but the base lore identifies that most Bodaks are created as a result of an encounter with a Nightwalker, an extremely powerful, high CR gargantuan undead. Regardless, the deathly experience leaves the individual a soulless husk that constantly seeks to devour a living essence, a literal life sink if you would, and it is keen on consuming souls and creating more of its own undead kind. The primary way of doing this was to enact what is called a death gaze, in which they meet eyes with a living individual and immediately pierce into their very soul with necrotic energy. Some like to joke that it's to scare their prey to death, but for a person to look upon the visage of the Bodak is to experience the horrifying ordeal of their own death, which can wrench the very soul from the body for the Bodak to devour. Doing so would result in the creation of a new Bodak from the slain foe. Other attributes of the Bodak include an aura of constant decay, which slowly drains life from those within close proximity of the Bodak, as well as a resistance to non-magical weapons and a stark weakness to sunlight that is often shared with many other undead. Now when it comes to Bodak behavior, since they don't really have a culture, most Bodaks are mindless with a sole instinct to hunt down and sap life energy. However, I'm of the persuasion that Bodaks can slowly regain a semblance of sentience over time, as a result of their constant consumption of living souls. As such, they can grow more intelligent, capable of allying with other undead creatures as well as formulating strategies to take down prey without ever having to directly confront them and put themselves in harm's way. Intelligent, or old Bodaks, will simply lay down ambushes to catch characters off guard, set traps to pin them down, and separate adventurers so as to pick them off one at a time. They can even keep one alive to use as live bait for the next party that comes around, promising to let it live so long as it aids them in their hunt, whether or not it is true. Bodaks can also eventually retain the memories of their previous loved ones and party, but without any of the attachment or loyalty, and as such will go on the hunt to find them only to devour their souls, reuniting all together as a legion of Bodaks. Bodaks would frequent locations where people come in low number or focus on hunting solitary prey, such as people coming to pay their respects in graveyards or tourists keen to make their way to secluded, dangerous landmarks. Beyond that, Bodaks often originated from both the Abyss, the Underdark, and the Shadowfell, and as such could be conjured by malign spellcasters keen to use them to their own ends. Most of 5th edition's lore like to align Bodaks with Orcus as cultists who willingly gave their lives so he may harvest their essence, leaving their Bodak husk to spread undeath in his name. I personally dislike the idea of aligning a specific monster to an entity, so I go with the more traditional lore of older editions. Bodaks were also believed to be the favored monster of the goddess of bad luck, Bishaba, but for what reason? Who knows? When it comes to combat, Bodaks predominantly focus on defense and longevity, so as to let their aura and their gaze attacks whittle down their enemy over time. In the rare case that they ever do wield conventional weaponry, they often wear plate mail and carried either axes or great axes, but a Bodak's weaponry could predominantly be dependent on the nature of the creature before its turning. You can easily have a Bodak wearing robes and wielding a mage's staff, or one that is garbed in leather armor and wielding sharp knives. When springing a Bodak upon your players, be sure to include other enemies with high HP pools or movement restricting abilities that will allow the Bodak to have more time so their gaze and aura can affect the players. As I said before, Bodaks are known for working with other undead creatures, so you can have your pick of zombies, wights, or even shadows and bone claws if you want to be particularly nasty. Conversely, you can have multiple Bodaks at once, allowing their auras and gazes to stack on top of one another to really bring the pain. Bodaks are also a really great way to show your players the dangers and effects that undeath, necromancy, and the energies of the Shadowfell can have on people, twisting them into horrid creatures that hunger for a mere sliver of life energy. In terms of Bodak characters and quests, our first one is going to be an NPC that I've called Morgir, the Bodak Highwayman. He is a Bodak who is old and has grown exceedingly powerful over the decades that he's been devouring souls, and upon regaining semblances of thought and an alarming level of cunning, he has managed to organize a cadre of undead to take on the guise of bandits and highwaymen. With this disguise, they stop carts and wagons with a small number of occupants, approaching up close under the false pretense of intending to extort them before capturing and devouring every last one of them. He may keep one or two alive in order to aid in a future trap, as some of his undead are not intelligent enough to go with the act, or easily give away their position due to having no skin and organs. Bandit wear and piecemeal armor can only really cover so much. But above all, Morgear is cunning and careful, focused on the Bodak strategy of overwhelming his foes with other enemies, so as to allow his gaze and aura to do most of the work. His undead will pelt them with arrows, keep them in place with nets, and even knock them to 0 HP so he may deal the final, soul-killing blow. He's good to use if you want to throw a little twist on the classic party meets bandits and fights them encounter, or if you want to have a sort of lieutenant to join a much more powerful undead foe. In terms of an encounter, referring back to the idea that Bodaks remember their original lives, you can have the party encounter an entire Bodak party that has since been consumed, and now arrives to wield their undead might. This party can comprise of any of the classes, such as a wizard, rogue, paladin, and the others. They still wear their robes and their armor and carry their old equipment, and maybe carry some magic items that your players can loot from them should they overcome the encounter. In terms of motivation, you can have your party be keen to put them all to rest, as well as hunt down the Bodak that initially turned them, or they can seek to slay the undead in order to get that collection of sweet magic items. I suggest using this opportunity to add some class levels to the Bodak stat block, relative to the party level of course, and you can definitely raise some havoc by giving your undead soul suckers sneak attack or smites, or you could have them cast fireball as they hold on to their last patience of destruction as a wizard. I'm sure it'll be more memorable an encounter than having all of these creatures just be zombies and skeletons of the old party. And then lastly, for our quest suggestion, we have something that'll help you introduce your party to the wonders and horrors of the Bodak. The local watch has discovered a body outside of a headstone, the body of an old woman visiting the grave of her long-dead husband. Her face is stretched in a look of absolute horror, and the party can discover rumors and myths of a creature who stalks up and down the rows of tombstones at night. Upon taking her back to the morgue, she raises before the party and the mortician with an aura of dread and death about her, having become a newborn Bodak. Should the party take her down, they have a whole new slew of questions to answer. What created this new Bodak? Was it another Bodak or was it a necromancer? And where have they since gone after devouring this poor soul and turning them? It's very simple, very quick, and very impactful. And even though you may have some veteran players who will expect the body to rise, they may be expecting only a zombie or a skeleton, something low level. They're certainly not expecting a Bodak that could possibly kill one of the party at lower levels. And lastly, for a homebrew magic item this video, we have something called the Bodak's Eye Amulet, a necklace that holds a transparent glass orb amulet with a Bodak's eye resting inside. This item takes the next slot and requires attunement. Using this item once per short rest as a bonus action, you may speak the item's command word and cause the eye to be unleashed for only but a second of time, so as to avoid total annihilation. The wearer does not need to be wearing this item to activate it. All creatures within 30 feet that can see the eye of this item, as well as the user of the item if they are currently wearing it, must make a Constitution saving throw or suffer 3d10 psychic damage. The DC for this save is either 13, or you may use your spellcasting save DC if you have one, and creatures who are immune to the frighten condition are immune to this ability. Additionally, if the creature fails its saving throw by 5 or more, it falls unconscious for 1 round until the start of the user's next turn. Only the wielder is immune to this ability. Unless surprised, a creature can choose to avert its eyes as a reaction to avoid the saving throw, but if the creature decides to do so, it is considered blinded until the start of its next turn. If the creature, however, chooses to not avert their eyes at any time, it must immediately make the saving throw. This could be a very interesting item that your players could use to deal a lot of splash damage centered on you in a way, or you could even hook it in an area and then speak the command word from afar in order to activate it as a trap. I've included the item stat block in the description below. So that's the Bodak, everybody. As per usual, thank you guys for watching, and I want to say thank you all for helping me finally reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel. It is a small milestone, but it is a milestone nonetheless, and I really appreciate all of the joy that you guys find out of these videos. Please like, share, and subscribe, and press the bell icon for future videos, and you guys can also vote on the next one using the link in the description, now having a choice between some of the classic characters in Dungeons & Dragons. This week we have Eclavdra, the Drow Matron and a Priestess of Loth, Strongheart the Paladin, and Kellic the Evil Wizard, the last two having made their most recent appearance in Wild Beyond the Witchlight. And lastly, please let me know how you guys have used and or encountered Bodaks in your games, as well as what you guys would like to see in upcoming videos. But until then, I will see you guys next time.